Beckett, the brand new Netflix original film that came out on Friday. The film stars John David Washington, Vicky Creeps, and Alicia Vikander, and tells a story about John David Washington's character who is vacationing in Greece when a horrible accident happens. He is on the run from people from Greece, people from the United States, not knowing who to trust, trying to find out where a missing child is. The film is an hour and 50 minutes long and it's TV matured. My name is Matt Sandberg. Welcome to a brand new Netflix movie review here on Max Talks Movies. We're talking about Beckett. Before we start with my non-spoiler review of this movie, please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button, smash it. That's the best way to support this channel. The more likes, the better. More people can watch this video. Also, please subscribe. Ring the bell if you're new to the channel. I'll do these types of movie reviews, TV show reviews, streaming platform reviews, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown show. And also, please comment down below your thoughts on Beckett. First of all, if you've seen it, tell me what are your thoughts in non-spoiler fashion. If not, tell me, are you going to check this one out this upcoming week on Netflix? Let's talk about Beckett. So I was actually pretty met on the movie heading in. Didn't see a trailer. I do love John David Washington. He's, in my opinion, one of the best actors of his generation currently. He's such a great actor. And I was so happy to see him now in a complete main role, which really is his movie. I think this is already the third movie I've seen him in this year. He was obviously in Malcolm and Marie, and he was in Monster, and now he's back with another Netflix film, his third of the year with Beckett. So let's first talk about my positives, then we'll go my negatives, and I'll give you my score out of 5 stars. Let's talk about Beckett. So first of all, my positive with the movie is John David Washington himself. He has the whole movie on his shoulders because it's basically a very much fugitive type of feel to the movie where John David Washington is being chased down for basically the entire movie. Of the hour 50 runtime, maybe an hour 30 of the movie is just him on the run, following people, going to people who he can trust in gunfights, in regular fights, and being chased down by the Greece government, by the United States Embassy, all of his different types of stuff. And he has a lot on his shoulders, and he does bring a lot of charisma to the movie. And he makes the movie, which at times, for the most part, is not watchable, pretty watchable because he is really good in this movie. Is it the best John David Washington? It's not. I've seen him in much better movies, first of all, but much better performances. It's just nowhere near how good he can be. And I think if people are seeing this for the first time, this is the first time they're seeing him. Maybe they won't like him as much in the movie, but if you know him in BlacKkKlansman, Malcolm and Marie, and Ball, all these different types of shows and movies, you know how great he is as an actor. And he is, again, very good in this movie, but not as special as I thought the movie is. But that also is a problem with the script. We'll get to that in a second. I also like the scenery of the movie. We are basically, actually, we are in Greece for the entirety of the film. And the film is actually really nice to look at. We're going through all these different towns and cities in Greece, and it's really, really beautiful to look at. The scenery and the cinematography is actually quite good in the movie, and it feels very well made. Now, meaning from a direction point of view, it looks good, it feels good. That's the type of movie I'm kind of looking for. But let's just actually just cut it there with my positives, because there's not many to be had with this movie other than its main performance, the way the movie looks in general. And also there's a bit of interest I did have. The first act of this movie was easily, the first 15 minutes of this movie is easily the best part of the entire movie. And you get this relationship that John David Washington has with another character, and you kind of get what is good. And their relationship is easily the best character development of the entire film, I would say. And it is a bit of interest. While it's pretty much by the numbers, the first act of the movie, it still is the best part of the entire movie. Also, Alicia Vikander, in very minimal screen time, is very good in the movie. She really is barely in the movie. You'll find out why when you watch the movie. But when she's on screen, she does a good job. Vicky Creeps, who I just saw in Old, she's also quite good as well in the movie. But let's get into my negatives. And that, for me, watching the movie, you can just tell that this is just not a good movie. And you kind of feel that from the get-go. Even while I had some fun with the first act, the movie at times just doesn't know what it wants to be. Sometimes it wants to be a political thriller, then it wants to be a political action thriller, then it just wants to be at times like a superhero thing, because John David Washington's character does things that no normal person can do. You see him jump off a cliff onto a tree and somehow he's no injuries. He'll jump off a side of a parking lot onto like if you know the scene from The Dark Knight where Batman jumps off the top of the roof, in the parking lot, and jumps on Lau's car. I mean, Scarecrow's car. That's what John David Washington does, and in the movie, it just feels so unrealistic because he's not a superhero. He's just a normal person. And if the movie needed to choose at first, will this be a ridiculous political action thriller that could have been a forgettable movie, but still better than this? Or did it just want to be a grounded political thriller? Then the action in this movie is not very good. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat that just doesn't work with the actual movie. It could have been shot better, one, and the actual choreography of it isn't that great in the movie. And another big negative I have with the movie is that it is extremely boring. And the second act of this movie is really terrible. As the first act is very watchable, is easily the best part of the movie because there's a relationship established that I did enjoy watching on screen. But the second act of this movie absolutely tanks this movie from being average to not a good movie. And that's because this movie is one of the more repetitive movies that I have seen all year, which is a big disappointment because, again, I love the people on screen. The person who directed this movie, by the way, Luca Guadagnino, who directed Call Me by Your Name, Suspiria as of late, he is a producer, and his second unit director on both Call Me by Your Name and Suspiria is the director of this movie. So you kind of had that going into it. It's a more repetitive movies, as I just said, of the entire year. John David Washington on the run finds someone he finally trusts, tells him his entire story, then that person has to do something. There's so many times where John David Washington just spells out every bit of information to each character that he meets along the way, and it just gets so boring. I don't know if the writers thought that people would be confused. It's a pretty by the numbers movie, but the script and the writers thought it's this complex script, but it's not. It's a pretty by the numbers script because you can tell they think it's complex because they have John David Washington explaining his situation to people 5 times at least in this movie. And it gets so annoying, so repetitive. It made me want to check my phone because I've already heard him. I've already seen what his part of the story. I don't need him to keep repeating to people what is going on. It just feels like the writers aren't trusting their audience and understanding what is going on. But it's a pretty simple and basic plot that could have been enhanced by better character development for the Beckett character. Other than that, he has a girlfriend and he's an American. That's basically the best. That's really top tier character development for this character in the entire movie. He's kind of just on the run, meets people, tells them a story. Oh, they might turn on him or they might help him. Then he goes on to the next person. They might turn on him or they might help him. And each time the people who are good people that he should be giving this information to, and the people who he's giving this information to are bad guys. And you just know each time he meets someone, and this is the whole second act of this movie. It's just him running into people, them putting him in the right direction, or them telling on him, all these different things. It just doesn't work. And as I said, the action, it is pretty laughable, some of the stunts that he has to do in this movie, because the movie doesn't need him to act like a superhero. He does things that no human person can do. As I said, he jumped off onto a tree. He should have been killed. He should have been killed when he jumped on the guy's car in the third act of this movie. It is so ridiculous that these type of stunts were in the script or whatever it was, that this was allowed, because the movie just doesn't have a great sense of tone. It's pretty boring throughout the entire movie. But if it was grounded and focused more on the storytelling, more than, we want to call this an action thriller, so we're going to throw in 2 or 3 action scenes in the movie that don't make sense, it's just a frustrating movie for me to watch, because the actors on screen are really trying to do the best job they can, especially John David Washington, who is a leading man who deserves a better script than this. So overall, guys, Beckett was not a movie I really enjoyed that much, other than the main actors in this film and the interest of actually unraveling what was going on in political sense in Greece during the movie. Other than that, this movie is pretty boring, with a second act that actually tanks this movie. And that's just my thoughts on Beckett. So I'm going to give Beckett a 2 out of 5 stars, guys. I'm going to give Beckett a 37%. I wanted a lot more out of Beckett. And if you like, and some people are like this movie, it's a pretty divisive film, but most people are consenting on that's kind of my range, meh to bad. I'm really disappointed on how much I did not like this movie. So that's my thoughts on Beckett. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. I'll see you guys.